Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev, the 2nd of March 1931 to 30 August 2022, was a Soviet and Russian politician who was the last leader of the Soviet Union from 1985 until the country's dissolution in 1991. He served as General Secretary of the Communist Party from 1985, and additionally as head of state from 1988. Ideologically, he initially adhered to Marxism-Leninism, but moved towards social democracy by the early 1990s, born in Privolnoye, North Caucasus Krai, into a peasant family of Russian and Ukrainian heritage. Gorbachev grew up under the rule of Joseph Stalin. In his youth, Gorbachev operated combine harvesters on a collective farm before joining the Communist Party, which then governed the Soviet Union as a one-party state. Studying at Moscow State University, he married fellow student Raisa Titorenko in 1953 and received his law degree in 1955, moving to Stavropol. He worked for the Komsomol Youth Organization and, after Stalin's death, became a keen proponent of the de-Stalinization reforms of Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. Gorbachev was appointed the first party secretary of the Stavropol Regional Committee in 1970, overseeing the construction of the Great Stavropol Canal. In 1978, Gorbachev returned to Moscow to become a secretary of the party's Central Committee. He joined the governing Politburo 25th term as a non-voting member the following year, and as a voting member in 1980, 3 years after the death of Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev. Following the brief tenures of Yuri Andropov and Konstantin Chernenko in 1985, the Politburo elected Gorbachev as General Secretary. Although committed to preserving the Soviet state and its Marxist-Leninist principles, Gorbachev believed significant reform was necessary for its survival. He withdrew troops from the Soviet-Afghan War and embarked on summits with United States President Ronald Reagan to limit nuclear weapons and in the Cold War. Domestically, Gorbachev's policy of glasnost openness and democratization allowed for enhanced freedom of speech and the press, while his perestroika restructuring sought to decentralize economic decision-making to improve its efficiency. Ultimately, his democratization measures and formation of the elected Congress of People's Deputies undermined the one-party state. When various Warsaw Pact countries abandoned Marxist-Leninist governance in 1989, he declined to intervene militarily. Growing nationalist sentiment within constituent republics threatened to break up the Soviet Union, leading hardliners within the party to launch an unsuccessful coup against him in August 1991. In the course wake, the Soviet Union dissolved against Gorbachev's wishes. After resigning from the presidency, he launched the Gorbachev Foundation, became a vocal critic of Russian presidents Boris Yeltsin and Vladimir Putin, and campaigned for Russia's social democratic movement, considered one of the most significant figures of the second half of the 20th century. Gorbachev remains controversial, the recipient of a wide range of awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize. He was praised for his role in ending the Cold War, introducing new political and economic freedoms in the Soviet Union, and tolerating both the fall of Marxist-Leninist administrations in Eastern and Central Europe and the German reunification. Critics see him as weakening Russia's global influence and precipitating an economic collapse in the country. Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev was born on the 2nd of March 1931 in Privolnoye, a selo in the present-day Krasnogvardisky district of the Stavropol Krai of Russia. At the time, Privolnoye was part of the North Caucasus Krai in the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic of the Soviet Union, and was divided between Russians and ethnic Ukrainians. Gorbachev's paternal family were Russians and had moved from Voronezh several generations before, while his maternal family were ethnic Ukrainians and had migrated from Chernigov. Gorbachev's parents, Sergei Andreyevich Gorbachev and Maria Pantaleevna Gorbacheva Nigapkalo, named him Victor at birth. However, at Maria's insistence, Gorbachev had a secret baptism. Where Sergei's father christened him Mikhail, Gorbachev's relationship with Sergei was close. While Maria was cold and punitive, Sergei and Maria were poor and lived as peasants. The couple married as teenagers in 1928, In keeping with local tradition, they initially resided in the house of Sergei's father, an adobe-walled hut, before a hut of their own could be built. The Soviet Union was a one-party state governed by the Communist Party, led by Joseph Stalin. Stalin had initiated a project of mass rural collectivization meant to help convert the country into a socialist society. Maria's father joined the Communist Party in 1928 and helped form Privolnoye's first kolkhoz. Following year, becoming its chair, it was 19 kilometers, 12 miles outside Privolnoye. At the age of 3, Gorbachev left his parental home and moved into the kolkhoz with Maria's parents.